Well, hello, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You're watching our Center Court webinar, our deep dive into the MBA programs. There are 3 of them, residential, at the Warrington College of Business at the University of Florida. And to talk about the programs, we have Carly Eskew, the Director of Graduate Business Career Services, and a current student in the 2-year program, Savannah Kay. Welcome.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
So let's tell people about, Carly, the 3 options. You have the traditional 2-year program, and Savannah's in that, and will graduate in 2024. You have a 12-month program for all undergraduate majors, and then you have a 10-month program for business majors. How do you cram so much stuff into the 1-year programs?
Well, creatively. So we actually start our all majors program, which is our 12-month program for folks with any academic background, typically the week after spring graduation. So we definitely use all the summer to make sure that they're getting re-exposed in some cases to business disciplines, or maybe even building business fundamentals for the first time. So we actually have 2 modules, if you will, over the summer for students who are participating in our all majors format. And then the business majors 1-year program, join them a couple of months later and are able to even get in a couple of electives before classes start again in the fall, when all the first years come in for the first time, and then our second years come back from their internship. So it's definitely an intensive summer. And then from a career perspective, we're training them and getting them onboarded in terms of resume, interview skills all summer, because career fairs come around pretty quickly, as everyone knows.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming that the 10-month program for business majors is as short as it is because business majors will have had many of the core courses that they can kind of skip, right?
That is right, John. We do have a few business majors who still elect to do our 2-year format if they're choosing to pivot from one business function to another. Our 1-year format for business majors is really suited for students who are maybe already, for example, working within the finance discipline, but they want an MBA to really take their career to the next level, possibly want to stay within finance. It's true that some of our 1-years do get into the program, realize what opportunities might be available, and still accomplish that switch within the first year. But we do see business majors pursue occasionally our 2-year format to have that internship summer to try something new. And then, of course, we allow our business majors to join our all majors program if their business degree is longer than 7 years ago.
Makes sense. So I should explain to everyone that the reason why, if you want to do a career switch, a 2-year program tends to be better is, number one, you get the summer internship.
Correct.
And in Savannah's case, and we'll get into this in more detail, she comes from a non-traditional background, and she wanted to go into consulting.
Correct.
So now she has an internship with McKinsey coming up this summer. And we'll cross our fingers and hope that when she comes back to campus, she'll have a job offer in her pocket. So she'll be set for the 2nd year. The other good reason why career switches are best in the 2-year program is because you get a real wealth of electives and more experiential learning to set you up for a switch. And in some cases, people do the triple jump. They change industries, disciplines, and geography all in one fell swoop. So that 2-year program tends to be the best. And Carly, in your 2-year program, just flesh it out for me. How much of it is the core curriculum? How much is electives? Are there specializations or majors? How much experiential learning is in it? Give us the nuts and bolts of the 2-year experience.
So I'll be able to do that, John, because I actually had that experience myself. So I graduated from the full-time 2-year MBA program in 2015. So a few years ahead of Savannah here. But Savannah, if I miss anything, jump in and fill in the gaps, okay?
Gotcha.
So in the first year, obviously working mostly on our core curriculum, in the first two modules, we work on a quarter system at the Warrington College of Business. So in those first two quarters, we are largely core curriculum based, but there's so much flexibility in Florida's curriculum because not only do we offer seven concentrations, we also don't require students to concentrate. So that makes students free to really piece together whatever it is that they want to take within the master's course curriculum. So our concentrations are finance, human capital, marketing, strategy, business analytics, real estate, and supply chain. And any given year, one of those concentrations isn't always the largest. So at Florida, I've talked about this in Center Court before. We don't necessarily try to fill our classes with, a certain percentage of finance students or a certain percentage of marketing students. We just want students to study what they're interested in and aligns with their career goals. So there's a ton of flexibility really starting for 2-year students, especially in that second year, but they're able to fill in some electives in the third and fourth quarters. But once the core curriculum is out of the way for all majors, our business majors, and our 2 years, they're really free to choose among any courses aligned to those concentrations and aren't forced into any concentration.
Great. Now, Savannah, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you have first majored undergrad in Spanish, and then you went to Madrid for a while, and then you went to Colorado. You have a master's also in curriculum design. So you are a very non-traditional business school student. Tell us what made you think you wanted an MBA, and then how'd you get to Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned before, the triple jump, I think you called it, between industry, function, and geography. I am a triple jumper. And
you're in midair.
yes, exactly. And very glad to be landing at UF. It's a great place for anyone looking to pursue a switch of that sort. Yeah, I loved teaching very much, but I wanted to see what it was like outside of the education bubble. And I also love learning. So the whole process of GMAT and applications, and I weirdly enjoyed. So knew I wanted the MBA with that. And as in terms of Florida, when I was just weighing my options, I came down for a UF preview weekend, the October before, like October 2021. And just being on campus and seeing the relationships between staff and students and alumni, you could just tell that it wasn't, surface level or trivial. Like, people had really deep relationships. And as a former teacher, I know that's just super important to me. And I knew that being a triple jumper, I would need the individualized support to achieve the goals that I wanted, and which was going from public education to consulting. And through the support from my students, alumni, staff, especially the Gator network, I'm super excited to join McKinsey this summer.
That's great. Tell us a bit about the learning experience. For one thing, we're talking about a small and very intimate program. How many people are in your cohort?
My cohort has 26, John.
So everyone knows everyone, not only by their first name, they probably know the names of their dogs and cats and their children, if they have children, and maybe even their parents. And the faculty knows all the students by their first name as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. I have multiple people in my cohort who've met my parents, and I've met other parents. So yeah, it's a really tight-knit group, and we have all of our core classes together. And I would say it's about like 70-30 group work versus individual. Obviously the tests and exams are individual, but we have a lot of group projects, presentations, case studies. And like Carly said, it's not, we're all from super diverse backgrounds. So I know I've learned a ton about, team building, working with people from different backgrounds, perspectives. And when you really get to know people in such a small, intimate setting, I feel like it just makes the team building and work together so much more productive.
What's the course load like?
So in mod 1 and 2, we have 4 courses. They're all the required courses. And then mod 3, we just started. So the mods are essentially quarters. And in the mod 3, we just started, we have 2 required courses, 1 elective, and the same, I think, going forward throughout the rest of the MBA, gradually releasing from required courses to more electives.
Now, like me, you're a poet. You're not a quant. You
Exactly.
didn't study math or science or engineering like quants do.
Mhm.
Your undergraduate major, as I indicated before, was Spanish, and then you got a master's in curriculum design. How is a poet doing in those hard quantity courses like finance and accounting?
So I have found finance to be surprisingly interesting because, like I said, I love learning and it is difficult. I'm not going to lie, but we have people from finance backgrounds, accounting backgrounds, and even, I'm new to Excel. Poets don't write in Excel typically, but we have some engineers who come in and they're like, we don't know finance either, but we can help you in our modeling class. So I think, again, just the tight-knit community and diverse backgrounds, really, we're all supporting each other. We had like a Sunday 5-hour exam prep session, obviously optional, but just things like that. People really go out of their way to make sure we're all on pace to succeed.
And that's the beauty of business school. We called ourselves poets and quants. It was all about saying poets bring strengths and quants bring strengths, and they also bring, to some level, some weaknesses. And in a great business school environment, the weaknesses are minimized because people help each other across both talent pools, whether you're a poet and you're a great communicator on paper and in person, or you're a quant and you're great with numbers and crunching them. Bringing these skills together makes magic happen. Tell us a little bit about the student culture. Now, you're cohort president. What's the culture feel like? What adjectives would you use to describe it?
So, I keep using diverse, but it's as cohort president, I have a seat on our MBA Student Association board. And the events, the span of events is honestly, they have multiple events every week that you can go to, everything from social events, professional development, community service. And again, you have the president of the finance club putting on a study session, public speaking club, getting people ready for interviews. And it's just, there's no shortage of activities to engage in, whether it's something to support your academics or to kind of step away.
That's great. That's really great. And you're elected cohort president, right?
Yes.
So your classmates must think a lot about you, Savannah.
Yes, I think they, I try to keep everybody organized, and it's an interesting role because I feel like I have a one-on-one relationship with everyone, and that's something that I just really value.
So Carly, if you had to say what the key differentiators are in the MBA program, what would they be?
One thing that I'll just kind of gloss over, because I think we've discussed it quite a bit already, is our size allows us to do a lot of the things that we do better, right? And that comes to academics, career services, extracurriculars. I won't harp on that because I think we've been there. But I think one of the other differentiators is just how supportive the current students are of one another. So we're an SEC school, so we're sort of trained to think competitively, right? And to support each other as a team. And we talk about recruitment as a sport. We talk about case competitions as the sport of the MBA. And I think in those two realms, our students really shine in their support for each other. I'll share a really recent example, which is close to us. We participate every year in Denver's race and case MBA competition. And this year, we had the most teams ever try out for that. John, most UF students aren't snow skiers. So I was pretty surprised when we had 16 students come and try out for this race and case competition. So 4 teams of 4.
From Florida?
From Florida. And they all assured us that they could ski. I didn't test that, but I took their word. So as we always do, we had the winning team represent us in Denver. And we were fortunate enough this year to bring home the gold.
Wow.
When the team came back to Gainesville this last weekend, actually, we surprised them by sending out a note saying we want to meet them at the airport. It's going to be kind of late, but we want them to feel really supported. And when I looked at the picture actually that Savannah took, I realized a lot, if not most, of the students who came there to support them had been defeated at the tryout, right? So there's no, shame associated with like going for a job and not getting it because another classmate got it, or going for a case comp team and not getting it because another team got it. They instantly rally around each other in both of these realms. And I experienced that as a student. And I think that's really a hallmark of our culture and a big differentiator for our program.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, you can't emphasize more strongly the fact that you are not an MBA factory churning out hundreds or thousands of students. This is a really boutique kind of customized experience because it's so small that it can be. And the bonds that are created from a program like that are very deep indeed. Now, one of the things I love to do when I go and visit a campus is to spend time with some students, more often than not over a glass of wine or a glass of beer. And what I like to ask students universally, in fact, is what are the three things about the program that most resonated with them? Now, Savannah, you're not quite even halfway through the program, so this is sort of an unfair question to you. But at this point in your MBA journey, how would you answer that?
So as of right now, great question. I'm only, one semester in, but 3 hallmarks so far for me that I think I'll take away for, the rest of my life. The first would be our experience at a conference we went to in Atlanta. And like Carly mentioned, we don't compete with each other. We kind of have like a strategy going into the conference where we work together. Before I went to certain booths, I had people from the second years asking me, make sure you know about this company, just making sure I'm prepared to present as well as I can. And just multiple people throughout the weekend were, giving support, receiving support, and it just created such an awesome culture, and we were super successful at that conference. The second hallmark I would say would be just the relationships. I know I keep mentioning this, but as much as I say I have a one-on-one relationship with every student, I'm fairly certain that every other person in my cohort feels that way as well. Things as simple as like, hey, do you want to get coffee? And how are you doing? If anyone has anything going on at home or, just in their personal life, everybody's there to support and help them in any way they can. In addition to, the conference support relationships, I would also add a hallmark for me has been working as a career mentor at UF. So as MBAs, we have an opportunity to be, it's called GCAP, Graduate Career and Peer Mentor. So we work with BCS to basically take all of the amazing strategies we've learned for networking, interviewing, prepping our resume, et cetera, and giving that back to other graduate students at Hoff Graduate School of Business. So I've been training, ISOM students, Masters of Marketing, Masters of Real Estate. So it's been really nice for all of us to be able to take what we're learning and immediately use that to help other Gators. And I think that's, a hallmark of why the Gator network is so strong.
Those are 3 great hallmarks. Now, I wonder, given the fact that you've landed an internship at McKinsey this summer, how helpful the Graduate Business Career Services office was. We have Carly here, and she might weigh in on this as well. How helpful was the school in helping you get that internship?
Extremely, extremely helpful. Yeah, one of the first connections I made with McKinsey was, I think it was August, BCS Career Services, they put on, it was called Professional Development Day. And just interacting with some of the people on the consulting panel, I got more familiar with different firms that I was interested in, and then just continued to build relationships from there. I have, one of our second year students who's joining McKinsey full time. He was my assigned mentor. So, in public education, I had not done a case interview. So he
Right.
put in a lot of work, him as well as other second years and first years, just a ton of consistent case prep with, it was truly selfless and so helpful in my preparation. The morning of my interview, Carly gave me a pep talk. I texted her the night before. I'm like, can you give me a pep talk? So I think I don't know that I would have achieved this goal without being at UF and without the support.
And everyone out there should know that, a case interview is not really a layup. It's kind of a hard thing to go through. And so prepping for it and having someone help you get through that process is a really big deal. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it was a very big time commitment. And that's something I was just super impressed by, like how people were willing to put in that much time to help me and help other people without expecting anything in return, just strictly cheering me on. And I'm currently casing with someone else weekly. So I think there's just this mentality of support and pay it forward.
Right. Now, I wonder if you can transport yourself back to your MBA journey to Florida, Savannah, and tell us, was there something that you wish you knew during that journey when you were applying to schools that you didn't know, but now you have an understanding of?
Yeah, I think that when I first started looking at programs, I think I was hyper fixated on like, if I don't get into a top 5 school, or if I get an offer, is it worth that? Is it worth the, the financial commitment and the time commitment? And I was really happy that I went to the preview weekend, because that gave me a window into what the program was, what the community was, both current students and staff and the alumni. And once I'm so happy that this was the choice that I made, because the alumni network, has been extremely helpful. And I think, advice to anyone currently looking, I would say just choose based on your values when you're weighing your options. I know when I was weighing my options, trying to make a decision, I went with my gut, which was UF, and I think it's been a success. So
That's great to hear. I do think that people overemphasize rankings, which are incredibly flawed and imperfect to begin with, and that just fit and knowing where you're going to get the support and where you're going to successfully complete a journey of one kind or another is far more important than anything else. Carly, what's your advice to students who are in this game right now, thinking about where to apply to and how to assess fit with a given program?
Honestly, John, I'm going to give some advice that doesn't sound too sexy, but I think the students who do this get a really good feel for what our program is like, and they probably would do the same with others. All of our full-time MBA students at one point or another get connected with students who are currently in the program when they're admitted. But I don't think students should wait, or prospects should wait for that. So if they're considering to apply to Florida, I guarantee you our current full-time MBA students are on LinkedIn regularly, according to the advice of their career coach, who happens to be me. And so they respond to those, outreaches. And so I think just opening LinkedIn and reaching out to current MBA students like Savannah. We also have on our website our designated ambassadors, but really any current full-time UF MBA students here in Gainesville generally want to talk about their experience, because they may have expected one thing and then, came into the program and realized there's a lot of other resources that they weren't even aware of. And so I think, my advice, it's kind of tactical, John, but I think it's assessing fit is not just, watching this center court recording, because we have my perspective and Savannah's, but really reaching out to other people who are in the program, maybe who had more traditional business backgrounds than the two of us did, just to kind of get that feel is really important. And then once you're in the interview process, I guess, pay attention to who the schools have you talk with, the types of questions that they ask you, because I think that shows a lot about what the program cares about. Pro tip for anyone facing our interview, we're heavily outcome oriented. So we ask a lot of questions about, why the heck are you thinking about this MBA? We truly, I think Savannah would echo this, we truly begin with the end in mind, because if you're just wanting that credential, this is a really wrong program for that, because as you mentioned earlier, John, maybe before we started recording, you can't hide in our program. And so if you kind of just want that MBA stamp, more power to you. There's probably a reason to approach a program like that, but ours is probably the worst program to pursue. And most students, John, think that they want a very customized, intimate setting. And Savannah, you might agree that they don't realize how close it is until they get here. And there might be some weeks that, they want to hide, and it just can't happen in our program. So I think it's
hiding.
Yeah.
We're talking about up close and personal in the most aggressive way possible.
Hopefully aggressive is not the right word, but we're definitely present and available. So yeah, I think it's just reaching out to current students, just getting a lot of impressions, and then paying attention to what the admissions interview looks like, and note what questions you're being asked to make that decision, because you should only be getting your MBA once, and so you have that one opportunity.
Very true. Now, Carly, if someone wants to reach out to someone on your admissions team or find out more about the program, obviously, first off is the website, has a tremendous amount of information. You have MBA ambassadors, students that they can talk to. What's the lowdown on all that?
Yeah, so everything you just said, and within our full-time format, we definitely have designated ambassadors. So if you go online, you can see a few things. The direct point of contact for our full-time applicants is Naz Aranguch, and so you'll see her email there. But we actually have a way to set up a one-on-one call within our admissions contact. We have a ton of open houses coming up, both virtual and face-to-face. As Savannah indicated, we think there's something special about coming to our campus. And so if you can fly into Orlando or Tampa or Jax or wherever you want to go, it's probably about an hour and a half or 2 hours from us. It'll be a nice drive over to Gainesville campus, but we think we can get you here and interacting with, my team and the admissions team and current students. But you'll have a tough time not coming to Florida if you get accepted. So we got a lot of campus events, virtual events scheduled, ambassadors to reach out to. And even once you're admitted, actually, we like to engage you along the way as well. So get on the website, as you mentioned, John. For us, we do have both full-time and online and professional formats. So just make sure you're kind of tracking along the full-time side to get access to some of those resources. I should also mention, I'd be remiss not to mention that because we have such a small and curated program, John, we're able to be fairly generous in our scholarships for students. And so while we're not able to do that in our larger formats, like our online and professional MBA formats, I think it becomes pretty clear to competitive students early on in the process that if they can meet certain criteria, we're generally willing to be pretty generous with our scholarships.
That's always great to hear. Well, Carly and Savannah, thank you so much for participating. I think we learned an awful lot about the program and what the options are in it, what you can expect, and sounds really good. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, John. Thanks for having us.
And for all of you out there, you've been watching our Center Court session on the 3 MBA programs, really, although we focused on the 2-year at the Warrington College of Business. Thanks for watching.